Hello, fellow gamers. This is Umbral Dragon. I thought I would come outside and enjoy a little bit of this Houston weather before it gets hot again. It's slightly chilly, overcast, perfect day. Love these kind of days. It's dry, there's no rain. But anyways, let's talk about game mastering. First question is, if you want to game master, you have to understand the whys. Why do we game master? We game master because we want immersion, okay? We want to be the hero in the story. We don't want to be the guy that's sitting on the sidelines. We don't want to be the sidekick. We want to be the hero, right? We want to experience new worlds, different places, the unreality or the surreality of post-apocalyptic worlds, fantasy worlds, sci-fi worlds, all those things. We want to have a good time, and tell a story. But we want to be at the center of that story, okay? So, we also want to advance our characters, right? So, if you're a game master, you have to think about that, right? Your players want to enjoy the setting. They want to have a good time. They want to advance their characters. They want to be more powerful. They want to be able to do more things, and they see themselves, a lot of times they plan ahead. Right? Hey, when I get this skill, I'm going to be able to do this, or when I get this feat, I'm going to be able to do this. And so they try to achieve those goals. They're not always successful, right? Welcome to the sounds of the city, by the way, if you hear that airplane. So understanding that immersion of the self, right, is what separates some GMs from others, right? It's not just about the stats and the rolling the dice and knowing the system, although that is part of it, okay? But immersion is very important, right? So you have to give sight, sound, smells, think about the five senses, right? What do you see? What's in your mind, okay? Can you describe that, right? So you want to show, right? Not tell. So you walk into the bar and you sit at a table, okay? Or as you walk into the room, right, the smell of sandalwood incense hits you from the braziers the small braziers that are, about the room. The brown tables, they still smell of beer and alcohol and wine from the night before. It's about midday, right? The smell of cooking fire, right? Roast, bread, is coming to you, right? And the smell of hot tea as you enter the room. Okay, so you use different senses. Maybe there's a guy playing a fiddle or a pipe, or maybe there's a little troupe of musicians, right? And they're sitting there playing music. You can put that in the background, or you can describe it to them, right? There's a lively tune being played, right? Similar to maybe Celtic music, or maybe there's some rock music in the background. You're in a post-apocalyptic world. Somebody found a Led Zeppelin tape, and they found an old cassette player, and they're playing the only tape they got over and over and over again. Okay, you can do that, right? Just put that out there to let you know that's part of game mastering. Okay, understanding that. What else? Let's go over some fundamentals, right? Outside of immersion, right? There's some fundamentals you need to learn. First of all, you have to be familiar with the system. You don't have to memorize the system, although you will just out of repetition, because repetition does that. But you need to be familiar with the system, so this way you know where to find things. That's the most important thing, where to find things. Okay? You can take post-it notes, you can take little tabs or what have you, and you can put them in your book in the places that you want to have bookmarked, so that way you can see more or less on the side or at the top where to turn to. You can color code them, so red may be combat, green may be spells, or yellow, or whatever, right? Spot rules, right? Very different things that you may need to access. And first you're going to make mistakes. That's okay. You know what? I'm an artist. I'm used to making mistakes. If I make a drawing or a photograph or a sculpture or a painting and it doesn't come out right the first time, guess what I got to do? I got to do it over. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with getting it wrong the first time. You're going to make mistakes, given. Go in with the idea that, you know what, I'm going to make mistakes. It's how you react to those mistakes, right? Do we keep the ball rolling? Do we break the rules just so we can, continue this game? Yeah, sure, why not? Who cares? It's just a game, right? It's just a game, right? We add more realism to it sometimes when saying, okay, man, your skill level, at athletics is like 27. Let's see if you said you wanted to, take the chandelier and swing across and swashbuckle, your way across the room and attack this guy, your enemy or whatever. And, let him do it. If he fails, you know what? You can still make it a success. You say, hey, you don't exactly fall off the chandelier, right? But I'm going to let you make another athletics roll. This time it's going to be an easy roll, right? You can reduce the difficulty and just say, hey, this time is that you roll to stand up. So this way you turn an accident into a happy accident. And it just so happens that because you fell off the chandelier, you still made it look like that was actually something that you wanted to do, right? You can do that. You can change those things, right? You're the GM, right? You can do what you want to, right? I don't like to pull things out of a hat that don't exist, but that's plausible, right? It's plausible. I mean, has it happened to you? Sure. If you've ever played sports, right? Soccer, rugby, whatever, right? You might have fallen down and, you're like, yeah, I meant to do that. Yeah, really, because you rolled and you stood up right afterwards. Because of your athleticism, your natural athletics, you just do it. Continuing on, you need to understand your setting. Okay? Don't bring dragons into a post-apocalyptic setting unless they belong there. Okay? Don't just pull one out of the hat. Right? If you designed the game to be purely non-fantasy, no magic, right? Straightforward, post-apocalyptic, where the hell did the dragon come from? Right? Don't do that. Don't do that to your players. Don't do that to yourself. Right? People aren't going to like that. Right? They don't mind if you put plot twists and things like that. Right? Within the boundaries of reality. Okay? Within the boundaries of the reality of your setting. Okay? I don't mean this reality. I mean the reality of your setting. Right? So if all dwarves, let's say all dwarves in your fantasy setting have the ability to walk invisible, right, among shadows or something like that, because of something else that happened in the past, and the gods decided that they were going to have this magic ability. All dwarves can do it. Well, then continue with that, right? Don't just say, okay, this dwarf goes invisible, and there's no rhyme for him to do it. Right, it's not part of his racial abilities. He doesn't have a magic item. He doesn't have a spell. He's not a spellcaster. How does that actually happen? You got to stay within the realm of the reality of the world you're working with, and that's okay, right? You can do some things, like, okay, you're in the wilderness, right? Yeah, you've attracted the attention of some wolves, right? Okay, or a dire wolf or whatever, right? That makes sense. Okay, maybe there's dinosaurs in that forest. Okay, maybe that makes sense for that world, and that's okay. You can do that. You say, hey, you hear some giant creature far off. It could be coming your way, right? Maybe it's caught your scent. Maybe it's tracking you down, right? That's okay. You can do that, all right? But to just say, a giant foot falls from the sky and kills the entire party, no, don't do that, okay? I know it's funny, but I've seen people do stupid things like that, so try not to do that, okay? Let's see. When we're talking about immersion and descriptions, right? Don't overdo it, right? For one reason, you may write down a whole bunch of notes, but if your game is kind of like very modular, like you can replace certain things. They don't have to go in an ABC order, right? They eventually find enough clues to solve the murder or the puzzle or whatever it is. If you have too many descriptions, you're going to spend a lot of time making descriptions up and writing things down. And then what if they never go there? Right? Keep it kind of sketchy, kind of loose, right? This way, when they get there, right, you give them exactly the amount of information they need, right? If you're running something already pre-planned, right? A module, an adventure that's already written by somebody else, and you took it off the shelf, you bought it, whatever. Pre-written adventures, they're great, right? But just take what they have, maybe expand on it a little bit more, right? Which is always good. It's always good to expand on those things a little bit more, make it yours, right? So that way it feels better for you as a game master to run it, because this way you'll have more fun, right? But just go ahead and take those descriptions and put them in your side pocket. Don't just have whole pages for everything, right? You covered everything under the sun. It took you 6 months, and now we get to play. No, nobody wants to wait that long, right? Everybody wants to get down to it and play, right? I understand if it takes you maybe 2 weeks to start digesting the rules and things like that, and then you guys are going to play. That makes sense, right? But once you start getting into 3 or 4 weeks, man, nobody wants to wait that long, right? They'll find somebody else, or they just won't play, or they'll lose interest, right? So you want to keep that fire going, right? Keep that intensity in your games and that tension, right? Which we talk about plot, right? How detailed are you going to make your plot, right? Just like I said, keep it loose. You got some notes on the side, right, that are possibilities. That's great. You want to be able for them to follow those possibilities. You know what? Sometimes it's okay to say, hey, you know what, guys, we need to take a break, because I was sort of prepared for this possibility, but I kind of want to sketch out a little bit more about what's going on. So if you give me like another 30 minutes, we'll have this done. Or if it's close to the end of the session, you can say, hey, we may have to end a little early if you guys are going to go this direction, right? Because in the beginning, it's okay to railroad your characters all the way to the end of an adventure. Why? Because everybody's learning, everybody's trying new things. This is something new, and everybody's excited, and they want to do different things. You're like, hey, can you guys please stay on track of the adventure? Because I'm new at this, just like you are, and I am not really prepared to go into this other stuff, and that's just going to throw me off. I don't know what to do. Okay, but if we stay on the adventure and just kind of play it out, right? This once, or this 2 or 3 times, if you guys will indulge me as the game master for this couple of times, then we can go ahead and start getting more involved and do more things, and you can ask more of me, right? At that point, because right now I'm not ready for that, right? You can do that. You need to talk to the players, right? Because it's not just your game, it's their game. But they need to understand you're doing a lot of the work too, because you have to learn the rules. You have to understand how to make your plot line work, right? Because some things are not going to work. You start putting things together, and the middle's kind of jacked up, and you're like, oh man, I got to change this or change that, right? And you just want to get to gaming, but at the same time, you don't want to throw a game out there that's kind of less than what you wanted, right? And that's understandable, because I'm the same way. I want my games to be exciting, fun, full of adventure, and dynamic and intense, and keep my players on their toes at all times. Okay. So like I said, once you got the plot path figured out, take a little time to consider where it may go off the rails. Okay, do that, right? Take a little time to think. Well, yeah, they saw the mayor, but could they decide that they want to arrest the mayor? What happens if they do that? Or what if they decide to kill the mayor? What happens then? Right? Maybe now they're criminals, right? Wanted by the law. So you got to consider the different options that could happen at that point. Let's see. Preparations, right? Let's get some preparations down. All right, paper, pencils, pens, papers, pencils, note cards. I like index cards myself. Dice or dice apps or a tablet, right? You gotta have your adventure with you. Don't forget that, right? I've done that before. I'm like, oh man, I got everything. I forgot to bring the adventure. Oh, dude, I shoot myself in the foot, right? So everybody's got to wait, another 15 minutes for me to run back or get my stuff and come back, right? So you don't want to do that. Right here in Houston, it could be as long as 30 minutes. You travel one way. They may have to wait an hour. There goes an hour wasted, right? So just remember that to put everything together, right? And bring your notes, your little notebook, and everything. Okay. Sometimes people will use handouts and mats and miniatures. You can do that. Make sure you bring all that stuff with you. Make sure you bring a core rule book, right? If you have it in PDF, that's good. If you have it in a hardback form, that's good too. So people can have it. I know you guys all made characters right at the beginning, or maybe this is your character session. Either way, bring character sheets. Somebody's gonna say, "I forgot my character." Well, how much do you remember? Right? Sometimes they can remember most of it, and they'll jot most of it down onto a character sheet. You just hand them one, an empty one. They'll fill it out, right? And they'll try to recreate their character. It's not a problem. Let's see. Yeah, let's talk about conduct, right? In and out of the game. So you want to say, "Hey, dudes, we need to," or girls, guys, whatever it is, right? Mutants, right? Whatever. They're your friends, right? They understand. So you want to put some guidelines, right? Hey, if your wife, your mother, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your significant other, whatever, right, says, y'all better use some coasters. You need to tell everybody, hey, I need for you to make sure you use coasters, or so-and-so is going to be pissed, and I'm the one who's going to have to hear it. So please, 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 please. You might send it out in an email ahead of time, or write it down. Hey, we got to use coasters at my house, or we're at the library. We rented a room for free, and we can't have any food there. We can have bottled water. Whatever the guidelines are, okay? Whatever the guidelines are, you need to make sure everybody knows, right? Like I said before, I would refrain from booze or alcohol. Definitely don't condone the use of any illegal drugs and such, because it tends to distract everybody else. Unless everybody's, into whatever, and you guys agree that, whatever you're going to do, okay? You guys have control over that. But you do need to set the guidelines so that way everyone knows what the expectations are. Just like I was talking about lewd behavior, right? I don't like lewd behavior in my games, and I don't allow it, right? So you may be different. You guys may be playing, some kind of, you might be playing Alpha Blue. Okay, that's fine. You want to play Alpha Blue? That's your favorite game. That's great. You know what? There's a lot of lewdness in that game, and that's okay. That's that game. That's what that game is about. Okay, some portions of that game are about that, and you're gonna come across it. It's just part of the game. Okay, but if that's not what your game is about, don't allow it. Tell them you're not gonna allow it. Okay, or you say I only allow this much. Right? Make sure you got guidelines. Make sure everybody is also aware that they can say, you know what, I feel uncomfortable in this situation. Okay? I feel uncomfortable in this situation. If they don't want to say anything, you can make flashcards, right? Out of your index cards. Okay? And they just hand you an index card saying, hey, here's a note. I feel uncomfortable in this situation. Don't blurt it out to everybody. Just say, hey guys, I think we need to roll this back a little bit because I think we've crossed some boundaries. Okay? We need to set some boundaries, and we need to make sure we stick to them. Okay, that's okay. You guys are adults or teenagers or whatever, and you should be able to deal with that. Okay, it's okay. How about problem characters, problem people, right? Everybody's going this way, and the one guy wants to go this way. You know what? If you're that one guy, if you're a player and you're listening to this, don't do that. Okay. If you see that everybody's going, oh man, really? You want to do that? It could be problematic because now the game master has to run two games, one for you and one for everybody else. And I don't think that's fair to everybody. It's just not, because now you're in the spotlight by yourself, and instead of waiting for your time, like if you're a thief and you're going to get plenty of time to climb in, to unlock some locks and open up some doors and things like that, well, it's coming. Just be a little patient. You don't have to go off by yourself into the woods and, I'm going to camp outside the city and everybody's going to the tavern. Why are you going to camp outside the city when everybody's going to the tavern? Everybody and their brothers going to the tavern. And you want to camp outside the city. Why? That's extra work for everybody. I know you don't care, but everybody else does. And this is a game that's you kind of got to be a team player. At least a little bit. Okay? You'll get your chance to shine, right? So, Dungeon Masters, don't forget to put the spotlight on everybody. Right? Design your adventures around your different characters, their skill sets, their talents, their feats. So this way everybody gets a chance to shine. If you got a guy who's a big brawler tank, well, create a combat that will allow him to shine, right? Be like, hey, you know what? This is what I designed this for, okay? You are the character's biggest fan. And you should act that way, right? Yes, you're going to play the characters, the NPCs, the monsters that are not players. And yes, you should play them to their fullest extent, right? If you have a gorilla whose main attack style is to grab, right? It's to strangle and grip, right? And bite. Well, guess what? That is what you should do. You should be trying that from the very beginning. Why? Because the players now have a conundrum. They have to figure out how to fight this monster, right? In a new mode that they may not be aware of or ever experienced. So now they have to figure this out, right? So you don't want to do total party kills either, right? When characters die, they got to go out with a bang, right? It's got to be heroic, right? It's like one of those battles, you know. I don't care if you fight for your mother, your father, you know, your brother, your children, right? Your land. I don't care what you fight for. All I care is that you fight, right? To glory or Valhalla Charge. Okay, so you're going into fight. You got a big battle coming up, right? You're about to get into it. You know, there's the big speech. Okay, if the guy dies on the battlefield, well, guess what? It's a glorious death. It should be like, you know, Valkyries coming down, you see trumpets, you hear trumpets, and you see clouds parting, and, you know, there's, you know, Bifrost coming down to create the bridge for the soul, you know, all these things, right? It should happen in a glorious circumstance, right? Or you can have other rules, but it should always be something fantastic and something crazy, awesome, right? And, you know, there should be songs sung about this person. You know, maybe bards are putting together some epic tale about, you know, their whole entire life. Things like that, right? That's what makes them be heroes, right? At the same time, if you got a guy who's good at intrigue and bureaucracy, right? He's got big skills in knowledge and bureaucracy, and you never highlight that, right? Allow him to get past, right, the normal conflicts that you would have, social conflicts, trying to get things done in a bureaucracy, right? Part of your adventure should include those things because you have a character and you allowed it into your game. A player wants to play this, let them play it, right? They want to be a Sherlock Holmes character, they don't have to be super genius. They have the skills, allow them to do the roles, right? To make it through and solve the crime because they are one of the stars of the show, right? Make them the star, make them feel like they're important. Every single person in that team should feel important, right? So you got to give them time to shine, right? Every one of them, right? Make sure you ensure that they understand that, right? That they will have a chance to shine. You'll get better at it, right? Where soon you're allowing everybody to do a lot of things at once, and you're keeping track of a lot of things at once, and you'll get better at it, right? You're doing full descriptions, right? You got this amazing game going. You're including everybody under the sun and all their different skills and feats, and allowing them to do things that that are their specialty, right? And let them shine, right? And your games, man, people are going to come back. They're going to want to play all the time, right? They're going to want to say, hey, we want him to be game master. But now, players, think about this. Give your game master a break every once in a while, because that takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of time. And some people, like me, I'm married, I got kids, you know, I got a job, I got to do things. I don't always have time to put together the most spectacular adventure you've ever seen in your entire life. Okay, maybe that's not so true. I like to put together adventures, and I do take the time to do it. And my wife is very, very awesome and very kind and beautiful and blessed that allows me to have this hobby. And so she gives me some time every once in a while to put together amazing adventures and allow me to touch them up and finish them and then play them. Okay? Not every game master has that going for them. Okay? So you got to cut them some slack, right? Give them some break. Maybe you could game master, right? Maybe you see this video and you're like, oh, that's what I got to do. Okay, I think I can do that, right? You know what? Some people like to take turns and make a circle, right? This guy does an adventure, the next guy does an adventure, the next guy does an adventure, because they all have different game mastering styles. And guess what? I like to see other people's game mastering styles, and I like to play too. So think about that. There's some food for thought, and this video has gone on long enough, and you guys have fun at the gaming table, have fun connecting with your friends, having a good time, play some role-playing games, and I will see you next time.